Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, everybody. I hope that you're all well and everything is good today. We're here really early for you guys. It's not that early for me. It's almost lunchtime for me and for Coach Maryam, who's come to join us today. She's actually, I should say, Dr. Maryam, mashallah. She's come to join us and talk about her parenting journey and what she's discovered as a doctor and a childbirth coach, mashallah. And if you all remember, we're doing our conference this year, mashallah. It's our fourth annual conference, our fifth conference in total, mashallah. We're working super, super hard on it. And Coach Miriam has come in as part of that to show us how to connect with your creator, inshallah, because you know that we're focusing the conference on the 6 C's, mashallah. So we're going to be talking about connecting with your creator today as part of our talk, inshallah. So, assalamu alaikum, Coach Miriam, Dr. Miriam. I keep saying coach, I apologize because everyone that comes here is a coach. Sorry. Dr. Miriam, how are you doing today?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you? Thank you for having me. Jazakallah khair.
No, thank you so much for coming. It's amazing that you've come to join us today because I know that your mission is to empower women to achieve a fulfilling birth through knowledge, support, and pure concern. I actually love this mission of yours, sister. Can you tell us a little bit about it before I do a proper introduction? I will do a proper one, but just tell me about your mission first.
Yeah, sure. My main aim is to empower women just with knowledge. I know that there is a huge thing about having great support system, but I believe that support system would work best if the person herself is knowledgeable, if she has the right knowledge or the right choices. That's when the support system is most helpful. You cannot expect to have good support when you yourself don't know your choices and you're completely depending again only on your support system. So that's my one of my main goals is to empower women through their own education.
That's actually really, really, really good point to make, sister, because I remember when I had my first daughter, I thought that I had read around the subject and read enough books. But actually, when you're giving birth, it's obviously completely different to the textbook expectations, right? And I think after having given birth the first time, I felt like I was definitely more in tune with my body and I understood it a little bit better. And I was able to select reading around the subject that was more in
Mhm.
tune with my thinking. And I think that's why I'm so interested in the work that you do as a childbirth educator, because just
Exactly.
simple
Yeah.
things, like I think, well, one of my doctors had two
Okay.
children herself, but she had two C-sections, not out of any fault of her own. It was just her,
Hmm.
obviously what had happened to her. But she's actually an OB, right, herself, and
Okay.
bless her, right? And then she obviously had to have two C-sections. She didn't have her perfect birth journey, so she kept telling
Hmm.
me throughout my pregnancy, but this was the last one actually. She was just like, if it doesn't go the way you want it, don't worry. It takes time, but you'll get over it, that kind of. And I was just
Yeah.
like, I wish someone had said that first. Like this was on my
Yeah.
last one. But if someone had said that at the beginning, that would have made my life so much easier. Instead they say, write down your birth plan and tell us how you feel. you know? And you're just like, I don't want to write down my birth plan. It's never gonna go as I plan, right?
Exactly.
So
That's what there are two extremes, I feel. There are two extremes in this. One is like completely medicalized where the mother probably doesn't have any say. And I believe personally, there's another extreme where the mother is all her life is focused on getting a natural birth, whereas that is not all your life. And if that doesn't happen, then it's probably that becomes a cause of postpartum depression. That itself, the fact that I didn't get what I want, so that is another extreme, I feel. Now that's happening, and that's really upsetting because that's what we work. Okay, I work as you need to have knowledge so that you can choose your own kind of birth. And okay, natural is better, but that doesn't mean we own everything. We control it. We don't. We don't control everything.
That's amazing, mashallah, because that's actually a very fundamental part of our belief, isn't it? Like believing that Allah is in control and not us. And then when
Yes,
we don't have that birth journey that we wanted, we tend to get really upset about it and internalize that problem and feel like, oh my God, I didn't get what I wanted. Whereas we should throw all our problems on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and
exactly.
let Him deal with it.
SubhanAllah.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you, sis. So you are a general physician or a doctor by profession. And then obviously as you're having children and, you're getting into childbirth yourself and you decided to train and certify as an Amani Childbirth Educator, right? And
Yes.
you've been teaching women about pregnancy and birth in a spiritual context,
Mm.
which is
Yes.
what Amani stands for. And you also certified as a CAPPA Childbirth Educator, mashallah. So I love
Yes.
the fact that at Amani Birth, it's an Islamically founded childbirth education doula program. So would you like to share a little bit about Amani and Kappa and what got you into all of this?
Actually, if you ask me about my own, how I found out Amani was actually through a friend because I was pregnant myself. And being a doctor, I thought I knew everything. And even the thought of someone suggesting that I need to take a course or look into it was like, why do I need it? I kind of know everything. And I have even delivered or been present and seen and delivered babies. So why should I? I know it because medically we know it.
Yeah,
But that's when I read more about Amani birth and I found out, like, for example, Amani birth's main goal is it's actually evidence-based information, but that is the part which probably I already knew. But they will prepare you mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually for this big life event of birth. And because we as Muslims, we need to know how to rely upon Allah alone. So that is the center of Amani birth, and it teaches you how we need to prepare, how we need to, the hadith about tying your camel and then having tawakkul or reliance. That's the main goal or main crux of Amani birth, that it teaches you that you tie your camel, you do your part, but then after that, completely give your whole and soul power to Allah. And that is when, inshallah, things will go as Allah planned, inshallah.
yeah, mashallah, that's really important. I think a lot of us that live in the Middle East, we always have this I guess this idea in the back of our mind that shall we give birth in the UK or give birth over here?
Mm,
What's going to be the difference? And
yeah,
I always recommend that they give birth here because you're in the Middle East, you're
mm,
in a Muslim country. They put Quran on in the
yeah.
delivery, right? Like it's you don't even have to request anything. It's just there.
That's the
It's
norm. Yeah,
yeah. And I love the fact that, like when I gave birth to my younger three, they give you the dates, they give you all of the kind of the sunnahs that when you're in England and you feel not sunnah, sorry, the norms, I guess, yeah. When you're in England, you kind of have to remember to take the dates with you, remember to
yeah,
take a bit of all of that. But whereas here it's absolutely normal. So I love the fact that it's very
yeah.
integrated into the kind
Okay.
of the life
I have
here.
a question, Sarah. In
Yeah.
Qatar, you delivered in Qatar, and that's where it was like
In,
this, like you mentioned.
in Dubai, I haven't given birth yet.
Okay,
I've only been here 2 years, alhamdulillah.
okay.
But in
So
Dubai, I
in
gave,
Dubai, it was like that. That's
yeah.
amazing because not all places in Middle East are also this accommodating, actually.
Oh, wow.
They're not.
Okay, no, it
Yeah, they're
was.
not in Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia because now they're starting a few hospitals because of this movement started by Amani in Saudi Arabia. So it has made a huge difference. But still,
Yeah.
it's not like you mentioned, and that's amazing to know that that's
No, it
quite
was
normal
lovely.
over there.
Yeah. It was well, the places that I gave birth were, especially Cromwell was a women and children's hospital. There were no
Hmm.
men around. Like it doesn't have any
Oh,
male patients. Yeah, so
okay.
especially there, but even the other two, Wellcare as well. They also
Hmm.
had it as well. So I think it might be different in different places, but I think
Yes.
what I liked about it is that I didn't have to request, am I allowed to put Quran on? Or one
Yeah.
of one of the ladies, when I gave birth, I think it was my baby girl, the youngest. It was a male pediatrician, and I remember giving birth to my eldest, and I had a consultant during that birth because it became really difficult, and um,
Hmm.
and the male pediatrician just kind of walked in and saw me just like that. I just felt so embarrassed. I mean, the consultant was a male as well, so that was already hard enough for me. And then just having him kind of come in like it was absolutely normal, that was kind of difficult for me. But that
Yeah.
was my first, right? And then with my fifth one, they were like, they pulled these curtains across and they were like, oh, we're just closing this because it's a male pediatrician. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. You know, um,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like
That's
you
the
didn't,
norm. That's quite normal. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, you don't have to ask for it. That's the part that I was talking about. But
Yes.
yeah,
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. Yeah. These things are not something strange for them over here. Yeah. Definitely.
exactly. And so obviously we're talking about getting educated in childbirth and making it part of our mission, in pregnancy to
Yes.
learn about all our different options and things. So how would a doula be different to a doctor? Like why would you recommend someone getting a doula to help them through this process?
First off, I will maybe tell you a bit more about what function or what the work of a doula is. A
Okay.
doula mainly is there to support you, probably throughout your pregnancy, mentally, emotionally, physically, but not medically. She is there at birth, maybe supporting you with different sorts of massages, different positions, reminding you of your own plans, reminding you of what all you had probably done throughout your pregnancy, her, the plans you made with her. So she's as a support person. For example, if you have a loving if someone has a really good relationship with their mother, they would definitely want her to be there. So she can actually take that role during birth and be there for you in whatever way you want. That's the role of a doula. At the same time, she'll also provide you evidence based information about birth itself. But she's not there to make decisions for you. She'll give you the choices. This is this and that is that. Now you have to choose because you probably have taken a few classes or courses with her. So that is the main function or main purpose of the doula. Now a doctor is a medical profession, and that doctor is mainly there for any problems or complications that come during pregnancy. So, which is abnormal. Pregnancy itself is not something abnormal that's going on with you. Pregnancy itself is not a disease that you have. But if something happens during pregnancy, that is when a doctor is has a big, huge role in it. Similarly, during birth, I would say birth is a normal physiological process, and if if la qadar Allah, God forbid, that if a lady, for example, is left alone in, just a hypothetical situation in a jungle, she's alone and she's in labor right now, and she has nowhere to go. Inshallah, most of the women like that would deliver normally. They will have their babies. That doesn't mean that we should go out and have our own births, but what I'm saying is it's a physiological process. If complications arise, that's when doctors have a huge role, and obviously they have changed the whole industry because they've saved lives. I'm not saying they haven't, but each of them have a different role in this.
That's actually really important to remember. I think a lot
Yeah.
of women, we kind of get fearful about pregnancy. And I've heard
Hmm.
like a lot of first timers especially, it's like, oh my God, what's it going to be like? I'm scared. I'm scared. When I was in the UK when my sister-in-law had her first baby, and she was fine while we were there and we were talking and going through all her options. Like obviously I've had a baby before, my sister's had babies, so we were just talking with her. And then on the actual day when she had a false labor, as we all do when it's the first one. Um, and then I remember her saying, like, I'm scared. And we were just trying to say to her, it's okay, don't worry about it. But at that moment, it is that scariness, that fear. So having a doula, would you think that would help alleviate some of that fear, do you think?
Yes, definitely. And Actually, having a doula during birth is not the first step. That's like the second part of it. Because what I know, if, for example, if a pregnant mother is completely clueless about what how birth is or how to cope up, and she has no clue, and just before her delivery, maybe she is just close by a week or so, she contacts the doula and she wants the doula to be with her, and at that time. Many mothers have expectations that the doulas would probably do some magic work, but that's not how it works. Most of the doulas actually would love to meet their mothers or their clients or mothers before the delivery. They would love that the mothers have a proper education taken from anywhere. Maybe she's just aware, not necessarily of class, but she knows her choices because labor is not a time to teach. And doula is not there to teach. She's there to support your choices. You need to know what your choices are and she will be that support system for you.
That's fantastic, mashallah. I mean, in terms of, so you think it's funny you said that there's no point in finding the doula and the due date. That's what happens with students with
Mm.
exams. You know, the whole year they're
Yeah,
like, "Oh, I'm all right. I don't need tuition. I don't need," and then the week before the exams, we just don't get a time to breathe because there's so many kids that come. So
yeah,
it kind
yeah,
of
exactly.
that a little bit. So obviously it's
Yeah,
about being prepared, right? So how would
yes,
you
yes, exactly.
recommend that we could get prepared if, for example, if we've never given birth before, or if it's our first or second child and we still need a bit of help and education in that? How would we get prepared then? So we would just what kind of books do you recommend, or what kind of things do you recommend we do to get prepared, inshallah?
Okay, so for example, there are many childbirth educators out there. There are many different organizations also out there. I will talk mainly about Amani birth because I believe that as Muslims, that is something we can easily relate to. I would recommend someone to take childbirth education classes. That's the first thing. But even if many people cannot do that, at least have the awareness and read books about it. Amani Birth, uh, the founder of Amani Birth, Aisha Al Hajjar, she herself has a book, Amani Birth. That's the name of it. And we can share it later if you want. You can get that. That's a small book. And parents, it's for parents actually to read and just get to know about birth and stories she has written in it. Besides that, childbirth education itself. I would recommend, for example, someone living maybe in the West, in UK and USA. Over there, you have many childbirth educators who are Amani certified, and you can easily find that on the website. They have a website. If anyone wants, probably we can share it later, right? You can find that on the website, and there are many educators listed over there. So that's one thing. If you, for example, cannot find someone in your area, local area, then there's an option of online which started after COVID, and that's a really easy option now available. And I myself give online classes, online Amani Childbirth Education classes. I provide that too. So these are the things I think anyone from anywhere in the world can do. If not classes, at least the books. At least the books I would recommend. Yeah.
And how is Amani, the Amani method, I guess, because it's different to like, the other methods that you hear of, like Lamaze or
Yes.
whatever the other methods are.
Uh, Amani birth is mainly based on evidence-based information. So what their aim is to give you the information and then show you ways to connect to your creator, connect your birth to your creator, and how to give for example, give your body like all the preparedness it needs, but at the end of the day, how to let it go and completely depend on Allah. That's the main goal of Amani birth. It does not have one, for example, I believe hypnobirthing, if people must have heard of it. It's amazing hypno. I'm not against any form of birthing, but hypnobirthing has a specific way. They teach you a specific way of doing it.
Yeah.
Lamaze also has a specific way, and it's like a taught way. You do that, and obviously they have great results. And we are not against any kind of birthing. But Amani birth is not any one particular. Like, it won't teach you a particular way of breathing. It won't teach you, but it will give you all your options. It will teach you, okay, this thing would relieve your pain. This thing would do this, and you choose your way which suits yourself best. Because sometimes what happens is I know many mothers who try to go for hypnobirthing, but they just cannot relate to that hypnosis part. They're not able to. And then that becomes a cycle of tension and stress, actually. I can't do this. Like, what am I going to do? So that's what Amani Bird does not teach you a particular way. It'll give you options. And whatever suits you the best, that's what you would do, inshallah.
Yeah, fantastic. Can you share with us what the lithotomy position is? I know we say it differently in America and England, but did I say it right? I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Uh, a lithotomy, okay, first I'll just give you what it means. A lithotomy position is the position when a patient is lying down on their back with their legs on the the stirrups or the stands. The legs are legs actually near the knees. It's high up, and their legs are open. So that's the scene I think many would have seen on TV of women giving birth, and that
Oh,
has become quite the norm. I think maybe now
it's the,
things are changing, inshallah, but
please say that you can
still,
say it's the worst way to give birth, please.
exactly. That's the worst way. That's the worst way of giving birth. Yeah. Uh, did you give birth in that position? That's what you're
I,
saying. Experience.
yeah, with my third one, they tried to put
Uh,
my leg in these
yeah.
stirrups, and because I'd already had two kids, I was like, "What the heck are they doing here?" And I literally looked at my husband like, "What's going on? Am I like in a mental hospital? What are you doing?" um,
Yeah.
and I think for me, personally, I think my husband was a good birth coach. Like he would, read about things
Okay.
and he would be like, "Okay, let's try this or let's do that." And to be honest
Mm,
with you, I wasn't one of those people that needs more people around me. The less, the better. I'm not.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
am sociable. I say to people that I'm quite shy, and they're like, "What do you mean you're shy? You're not a shy person." But actually, in real life, I am. I'd like to be on my own a lot. So I remember, just having him near me.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't think I could have really spoken then. I don't think I spoke to him and said, get rid of those stirrups. But I remember him saying, she doesn't want those. She doesn't want those. And I guess in my mind, I feel like if the husbands can't be supportive, then I
Mm,
think that a doula and you
yeah.
don't have your mum around because again, if you live in an expat world like we do, it's nice if your
Hmm.
mum can come over, but if she can't, a
Yeah.
doula would be like the next best thing, I think. And I know
Yeah.
that some dads are fine with being there, being at the birth, but I remember one of my friends' husband came to ours while his wife was in labor, and he was like, can you fill this tea, this thermos with tea? And I'm like, what the heck are you doing here? Like, isn't she in labor? Isn't she supposed to be giving birth right now? He's like, yeah, I can't handle it. I can't handle it. Um, and it was kind of shocking to me that some men can't handle it. But obviously,
Yeah.
now that I'm older and now that I know that there's different people around, and some men are better at different things, and some men are better at different things. I think that this idea of having a doula would be something really, really good because,
Yeah.
again, like what you said before about kind of connecting with them earlier and knowing them, you feel comfortable with
Yeah.
them. Um, and
Exactly.
and yeah, and I remember that I had my own baby at the time that my friend was giving birth that time. So I don't even think they asked me to come along, but he ended up asking his his best friend's wife to accompany her.
To come.
And the best friend's
Mm,
wife had never given birth before, didn't have a clue what she was doing.
mm,
And she was in the labor room with her. And I remember walking into the house going, who the heck is this woman? We've never seen her before. But she was there at the birth. And I was like, did you choose her as your birth partner? And then she didn't say anything until the lady had left. And then she was like, no, she just kind of came to visit, came to support him. And then he just chucked her in there with me. I was like, oh my God. So, like
sometimes
obviously,
sometimes doulas even accompany couples. Like the husband is actively involved and he is there at the time of the birth. Many couples still choose to hire a doula because imagine the doula as your personal, I don't know, therapist or coach at the moment. Like she would actually uh, herself physically be involved whenever possible, but otherwise you can imagine her being like, asking the husband to do this and telling the mom she can do this, and both of you can do this. Like that also happens. And I have a few mothers who've contacted me asking for, I didn't understand it before, but now I do, asking me for a doula of a different nationality. And I was surprised. I'm like, obviously my mind was like, why is she asking for different? What has that got to do with this? And later on, I told it's kind of difficult what you're asking, because her request was she wanted an Arab doula, but she was a non-Arab, and
Right.
but the Arab doula should be able to speak English. So I didn't understand why she wanted that. Later on, I got to know that she wanted to be with her husband. At the same time, she wanted privacy. So if she spoke her mother tongue, she didn't want the doula to get it, but the doula would be available as a guide. And I'm like, okay, okay, I get it. Yeah, that's quite valid to ask. I will look around if I can find someone. But yeah, doulas do support couples also that way.
That's kind of interesting to know, isn't it? Like, wait, I want her there, but I don't want her to understand what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah, not what I'm saying to my husband when I'm saying it privately.
Yeah. Yeah, because most of the time you'll probably be telling him off. Why did you do this? No, no, bless. Alhamdulillah. Kids are amazing. So we said that the conference is going to be about the 6 C's, inshallah, and you were telling us how courage, connection, and compassion from the 6 C's could be related to this. I'm just going to let the viewers know that I might have to just pop off for 2 minutes. I'm just going to go collect something. Actually collect my daughter. I sound like I have to go and buy something, but I don't. So I'm just going to go collect her and I'll be back within 5 minutes. Is that okay, Miriam? If you just continue talking
Yeah,
about that
sure.
side of, yeah, about it, and I'll
Sure,
come
sure. No
back in a
problem.
few minutes. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. No problem. Yeah, sure. So as Sarah was saying about the 6 C's, one of them is courage. Now, in context of pregnancy and birth, I would call courage to take responsibility, not give in completely to what uh, the doctor is saying or what anyone else is asking you. Not letting them make all your decisions. Instead, be involved in it. Take the courage to be involved in making decisions that will impact your life and your baby's life and your family's life. Because if you think about it, at the end of the day, whatever decisions have been made at birth, you and your family and your husband and your baby are going to live with it. And many times, a traumatic birth experience is what results in postpartum depression. And that is a decision which your family has to go through, and not someone who took the decisions during your birth. So it takes courage for you to stand up and take the knowledge required, or take the necessary classes, books, whatever sources you have, and take responsibility for your decisions that you make. Have the knowledge so that you can take responsibility. Then you have the other seed connection, and this is about having a deep connection with your own body. When we tune out the external forces or external noises that come from different sources in the hospital. For example, in the hospital, you are in labor and you arrive at the emergency section, and you have one nurse trying to put up IV fluid or take some blood. Another nurse is trying to change your clothes, and at the same time you're in labor, and they're trying to all put you on the bed. And this doctor comes and says, "Quickly prepare. I have to check." And someone else says this, "Where are you? Where are you in all this? Where is your body? Like, is anyone listening to what you have to say? Are you listening to your body? What is your body saying?" For example, I know for a fact that sometimes when you have an extreme contraction or surge or pain, you literally don't want anyone to even touch you. But many times, I know that medical professionals don't consider that a valid option or even an opinion. If you ask them, "Please don't do this. Wait for a moment." This happened with me personally. It happened. It happens quite commonly. You are in pain and you are asking the nurse, "Can you please wait for a few minutes till this contraction stops, and then you can put me on the bed, take my blood." But what happens is they don't consider that. And that's when you lose connection. When you have so many people talking to you at different directions, you just kind of zone out, tune out, and completely just rely on whatever anyone is saying. Just follow whoever is around you. how to connect with yourself would be to tune out all these noises. And that is when you will know what to do. If a mother is left alone to listen to her own instinct and intuition, that's when she will actually easily, go through the birthing process. Not always, I'm not saying it happens always 100%, but at least she can listen to her voices. That is when, for example, I don't know if any of the viewers are completely into natural birthing, or have they ever come across, experienced, or seen videos. You will see many natural birthing women suddenly maybe change position, or take a position of all fours, like hands and knees, or different positions. And no one has told them to do this. What made them do that? One is obviously they had probably had some knowledge about that position is probably helping them. Second is the way the baby is moving in their body, the way the contraction feels makes them go into that position. An unpleasant or an example, which obviously we all know, is going to the bathroom. Does anyone teach you how to, go to the bathroom and push and, does anyone teach you that? It's a natural instinct. And I'm pretty sure if someone tells you it, you would, shut them out. When you allow people to talk and not shut them out, that's when you lose the connection with your own body. So that's the second C. Then we have the third C, compassion. And this may be connected to a very vulnerable time, a sensitive time for the mother, which is during her labor. That is a time when she feels completely weak, and she probably wants something to hang on to. And this is when I would say that is the time that she's supposed to hang on to or completely rely on Allah, because at that time you literally feel like I have no control of my life. All this while, when I was being probably arrogant over small little things in my life or any other problems I had, now I realize that that was nothing. Like I have no control in my life, and that is a time where she's very weak, very vulnerable, and that is why many doctors and nurses and anyone can easily, portray their strength or make the mother follow whatever they want, or hurry things up. Okay, this person is not progressing into labor. Let's give her drugs to progress. Let's do this. They are making all the decisions because she is in a very vulnerable state. And this is the time when she needs compassion and not compulsion. She needs someone to show her compassion. And that is where the role of family, friends, doulas, obviously doctors, but we can't control, we can't make them. We need more doctors like this. But that is the role of these people around her. And that's why it's a crucial role that these people play. And compassion can mean just understanding her. Mm, I had a mother tell me that during her labor, she had the doctor screaming at her, telling her, "How dare you make so much noise? Like, why are you screaming? Keep your voices low." There are other mothers who you're disturbing. And then there are mothers who say the doctor was so rude when I asked her what is happening, or how many centimeters am I dilated, or what are you giving me. When I asked her, the doctor gets angry and says, all mothers have given birth. Don't you know that this is how it happens? Not even answering her concerns, but just trying to be spiteful. And that is really hurtful. And a laboring mother, she is never going to forget the things she heard. And these stories that I've heard, the mothers have given birth like maybe 10 plus years back, but they still remember that few words someone said. My oldest child is now 7.5. It's not a long time, and I remember the doctor telling. He wasn't even telling me. Was telling my husband that we have to wait because we do not have the insurance, and that was really low, like far. The doctor was very far, but I still heard, and I still remember that the doctor was saying, no, let her stay like this because we cannot do anything right now because we don't have the insurance. And I was at that time also, I'm thinking, how come no one sees me? How is no one seeing me? Where's the compassion of these people over here? And that is a huge role that the community or um, the people surrounding the mother have. And to reach this goal is what we suggest that you start now. If anyone listening over here is pregnant or even planning to be pregnant, there are many mothers who are still not pregnant. They're planning on a pregnancy and they still do all these researches. They find a person who's going to teach them. They find someone who's going to support them physically. So this is the time you prepare yourself so that you have that kind of support at that time, that kind of compassion at that time. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum back.
Walaikum
I
salam. Thank you so
completed the
much for
compassion part. You you came at the right time. You completed the last one, compassion. Just talking about that.
MashaAllah. I love that you're talking about the compassion in labor because I feel like growing up in the West, there was Walaikum Assalam, Adila. By the way, did I Salam alaikum to everybody that's listening, and please do add your questions in. We know that we came super early today, but mashallah, there's about 4 or 5 of you on right now. So if you have any questions, Adila, mashallah, I think Adila, you could be a doula, couldn't you? Because mashallah, Adila has given birth a few times.
MashaAllah.
Mashallah. So if you are interested in learning what doulas do and maybe booking one, what can they do, Dr. Maryam?
Um, First of all, if they want me to be their childbirth educator, then I live over here in Jubail. So if anyone's here, which I doubt, I can do the physical ones, but otherwise I give online sessions to mothers. And that is mainly, for example, if someone is pregnant and asks me, then I would, once they enroll with my service or program, they will have an online portal, which I will send them the username, password. They can access it at their own time. And that online portal has around like 10 different modules. Each module has a few short videos. They're really short videos. They're not like long, boring ones because that's something you can't expect a pregnant mother to sit and listen to. So it's really short videos. And there are many journal notes in it where you have to make notes, or there's a few activities also that'll help you in labor. That is the online portal part, which she completes at her own pace. It's approximately like 10 modules, so it is, easily she can complete in 10 weeks, but definitely you can do it earlier or later as you wish. And along with that, I also give live sessions, 5 live sessions, along with the online portal. So we kind of collaborate. Like, for example, if you complete two, uh,
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened there. Did the sound cut out? Dr. Maryam, are you still there? I think maybe her internet has gone a bit low. But what I think Dr. Maryam was saying was that she has a course that you could join. I've just put her Instagram there for you. So if you would like to follow her, she's got lots of helpful videos and posts on there already. And then if you're interested, maybe you could take the course with her, inshallah. She lives at the moment in Saudi. And to be honest, I didn't ask which city, but obviously she's in Saudi. So if any of you are in there and you realize that you would love to have a session with a childbirth educator, then please get in touch with her. I think she's coming back in. I think it was her device. And Walaikum Assalam, sister. Can you write your name when you're on Facebook, sisters, or just give StreamYard permission? There's something you have to click to say that I can see your names. But yeah, I've put the link. Which link do you need, Adila? The Instagram, it's here. I've put it in the chat for you. Yeah? Okay, I think,
go
let me
off.
just, are you back?
Yeah,
Are you
assalamu
back?
alaikum. Yeah. I
Walaikum
have no
assalam.
idea where I went. I went off. So where was I?
So you were talking about the module, the course that you've got, and and one of the sisters is asking if you could share the link. I've shared your Instagram. Is it there? Can I get the link from there?
Yeah, it's on my bio. There's a form on my bio. You can find the details in the form, and I can personally reply to her if she messages on Instagram also. But you can fill the form if you have enough information, or if you want to chat, we can just leave me a message on Instagram.
Okay, I've put the links there. So the Instagram is there and the form as well, mashallah.
Yeah,
You
Instagram is what I
also,
usually respond to faster. So if you can just leave a message on Instagram, it's fine, inshallah.
it's fantastic, mashallah. I was reading, like sometimes when I go over the different the different coaches that come along, and I kind of have a look at your Instagram and stuff. And I
Yeah.
love this post that you've got there. I think I'm in labor. I feel some pain and contractions. I need to go to the hospital now. That's such a first time mom thing. Do you,
Yeah,
do you
exactly. I know.
do you get a lot of mums calling you like when they're early in labor and you're like, no, it's all right, stay at home?
Yeah, yeah. That's why I believe. Actually, I get moms who go to the hospital, and I'm like, why did you go now? Now you because over here, most I know that in our culture, I'm from India originally, so in our culture, it's not common for mothers to say no to their I don't know care providers, even at home, to anyone in the family. You cannot. It's not common. So what happens is they go to the hospital and then they're contacting and then they're like, now what am I supposed to do? I'm like, I really don't know, but this is what is good for you. Like you can probably get checked and go back to your home and try to labor as much at home. But that becomes harder. That's why it's much better to have the knowledge beforehand than going to the hospital and then coming back and fighting with your own family and fighting with everyone over there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you touched on the fact that we are brought up in the South Asian culture to be
Mm,
uh, kind of permissive and accepting, and just, whatever everyone says, you just go along with it. So we try
yeah,
to teach the opposite, not the opposite, but like we try to teach you how to be empowered, how to stand up for yourself. We've had mums in the coaching that we do for the inner tribe that have actually had trouble talking to their own children because, again, when with the
yeah,
son, especially with the sons, they feel like they have to do what they've said to them. And
yeah,
we've had to coach them through the idea that no, you don't have to follow what he's saying just because he's a man, because that's how we've been brought up,
mm,
really. And,
yeah,
you can't talk like that, you can't say that, and things like
mm,
that. And people not only discouraging you, but actively stopping you from saying what you
yeah,
think sometimes, right? And
yeah,
then obviously, like you said, when you're giving birth, you're in a really vulnerable position.
mm,
If you already can't stand up for yourself, you're going to find it even harder standing up for yourself while you're giving birth.
exactly.
And you know and we're I mean, I'm on quite a few Facebook groups, as you all know, as well as your parenting tribes Facebook group. And sometimes I
Hmm.
read stories of mums, I'm about to give birth and my mother-in-law's coming over to look after
Yeah.
me for 2 months. And you're like, no. And I'm not saying not your mother-in-law, I'm just saying nobody. Just have yourself, your husband, your baby, and let them come
Yeah.
and visit, be there with you. That's fine. And funnily enough, I spoke to a mother this
Hmm.
time in the other tribe, and she was saying that was such good advice, because even for her as a mother, having her daughter with her other kids and then the third baby, and she was like, it was going to be too much for me and I wouldn't get my own time. So even for the
Yeah.
mother, it was helpful to have her own space and be able to help her during the day, but then go back to her own space. And I think that
Mhm.
because of the way that life has evolved now, that's really important. What do you think?
Um, in this, I would say it depends on the situation because what happens sometimes is you might not find completely supportive husbands, and in that case, it becomes very difficult. Everything, especially if she's already having another child and she has a baby, and the husband is kind of okay, supportive. Many husbands would be like, "I'm supportive," but for them, supportive would mean uh, probably picking the plate up and putting in the kitchen, putting a few toys away, that kind of support. And some of them don't even have the knowledge. They don't know what to do, or they don't know how to even handle the newborn. That's another whole topic. Like they need to have that sort of education, that sort of exposure. But what if a mother is in that situation? You can't sit teaching the husband his whole, uprooting his whole life and teaching him from. So in these situations, I feel someone who is quite like someone who the mother is comfortable with should be with her, not someone forced upon. Like some people are comfortable with their mothers and not their mothers-in-law. So it should be her choice, and obviously the person who's coming to help her would be comfortable with that. But that sometimes is kind of needed in the situation. Like I believe that's my
I
personal
agree
opinion.
it's needed, like, but what I mean is that they still have their own space, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
They come
yeah,
along,
yeah,
they help you for the day, and then they go home and you have your own space in the evenings. Does that make
yeah, yeah.
sense? Yeah?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes I know that the older generation they are used to taking over, so that's another problem. So, like you said, yeah, it makes more sense to have your own space because sometimes they take over it completely. You're just resting. You don't even know your baby. You're just resting. So that is another problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Adila saying that it's challenging when family is far away from you because you do have to figure out how to work with each other to make things work. And I think that picks up on what you were talking about. Sometimes the dads have no idea what to
Yeah.
do. And I remember when I gave birth to Miriam, my eldest, my husband wouldn't pick her up. She was in the cot, and he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I need to go have a shower. Can I leave her with you?" And he was like, and this is on the first day, not like we weren't at home yet. I was still in the hospital, and he was like, "Yeah, that's fine. Just leave her in the cot." And I was like, "But if she cries, are you going to pick her up?" And he was like, "No." Like, he didn't even lie about it. He was like, "I can't pick her up. She's too small." And I remember getting a pillow, putting it on his lap, like I would have done with like a 14-year-old, 13-year-old cousin of mine, or actually younger
Yeah.
now, 10 or something. You put a pillow on the child's lap, and then you put the baby on there, then they get to hold
Yeah.
them for a little bit. And I remember doing that for him. What other tips do you have for helping the dads kind of get used to having a baby around?
Um, there are childbirth classes that accommodate couples, and obviously for that it's much better to be a physical childbirth class. But even otherwise, like for example, the online course which I provide, the whole portal, I would even advise the mothers to share it with their husband, and they can. There are a few modules which are kind of solely focused on this part. And there's something called a postpartum doula also. And I think even the normal childbirth doulas, they do have a few visits after the mother has given birth. So they kind of even teach the fathers. It depends from doula to doula, obviously, but these services are part of doula's service. So if you're in some place where you are in contact with a doula, you can discuss these things and she can come and teach you. They even have workshops organized by the doulas, and the dads are involved in it. They have like small mannequin babies, and they try to put the diapers and all that. But you'll have to figure it out in which area you live. But at the least, I think you can find if you find any doula, I'm pretty sure they have a postpartum doula visit, and that's when they can increase the connection and kind of help you out in this.
That's fantastic. Another one of our sisters is saying the dads need to be trained and know that babies do not sleep through the night. Um,
Yeah.
that's kind of a hard one, isn't it, for new parents, where you're like, I just need to get some sleep. And they're like, but I need to sleep too. Do you have any tips on that for us?
Um, both my kids were they had colic, which means like they would cry, they would just cry.
Mm.
You kind of okay, colic literally would mean okay, they have some tummy problems, but kind of there's no solution to it. There are lots of solutions, but most of them don't kind of work. And so it was a routine for us around Maghrib time. Uh, children they would start crying. Like the oldest one, when he was, I think it was still around 5 or 6 months, it went on. So he would just cry and cry and cry. I would feed and still he would cry. And cry. It became a habit. And Alhamdulillah, my husband's workplace was quite close to my house. So I would just call him. That's it. I can't do it. He would have like evening shift. I can't do it. And he would come and he would carry the baby for some time. It's not like carrying the baby is calming the baby down. Sometimes it would, but many times it's just that I needed the relief. Like I can hear the baby still crying, but my husband's just walking around with him. And we both, till our um, emotions can take handle it, we would just take the baby from one hand to the other till the baby is quiet. And sometimes it happened that I used to even for the second one, I remember he also had colic, and I would just put him in the stroller he's just crying. I have no way to calm him down. I had tried so many things. Sometimes it worked, and I was like, Alhamdulillah, it worked. But sometimes I used to just take the stroller, put him in it, and I didn't care which area I'm living in. Just put on my abaya and take the oldest one. And my oldest one was 4.5 then, but he still knew that something's wrong with mom. So he would bring the stroller. He would get water bottle. He would fill it up himself, and I would just take my purse and my phone and walk out of the house with the stroller and just walk on the ground. And I realized that that helped him. Maybe, the fresh air, maybe looking at the sky, maybe hearing the cars. I don't know. But I didn't even go
Yeah,
to a garden. It was just on the parking lot, and I'm
yeah,
just walking till he's calm or asleep, and then I come back home and continue my life. So there are a few ways to do it, but I think husbands have a huge role in this one.
yeah, they do. Adila said something. There's no instructions included. I love that. That actually brings us back to the title of our conference, right? No one taught me this. So all of these tips and tricks that I think, like
Yeah,
what Dr. Miriam is talking about just now, the same with myself. Like you kind of learn these things by trial and error. There's one hold that my mum taught me where you
hmm,
turn the baby around and put them on your knees, and you just turn the baby around and you just kind of pat their back, or
yeah,
just like stroke them, massage them. And I think for me, for me and my sanity, as well as it was good for the baby, is chucking
yeah.
them in the bath, like
Oh yeah,
crying, put
yeah.
them, they're not tired, they're not sleeping, put them in the bath.
I still do it.
um,
I still do it. I put both of them in the tub.
yeah. And I think like we all have our go-tos, don't we? Because there's
Yeah,
something that works, and then you're like, yep, that works, right, I'm doing it. And when you were talking about putting the baby in the stroller, and I had an image in my head of Aisha. She was about a year old, and my mum and dad had come to
mm,
visit. It was the first time they came to Dubai to visit us, and she was only a year old. And when they realized that they were leaving and going to the airport and not coming for a while, Miriam, who was about 3.5, started to cry. Aisha is only one. She doesn't really know why she's crying, but because she sees
yeah,
her sister crying, that's it. She's crying as well. And there was nothing we could do to make them quiet. We were talking, we were giving them lollipops, and you can watch TV, and nothing was working. And then my husband said, "Right, we're getting out of here. We're going for a walk." And that's what we did. And
yeah.
we took her with the stroller. And I remember saying to him, "The head teacher lives here. Please, like, don't go on that road. He lives around there. He's gonna see us." Because when you're working out here, I'm sure coach, that when you work in the same company, most of you live in the same area. So
Yeah.
so obviously there is that part to it as well. But at the end of the day, even if he did hear me, when a few of the teachers had come around and said, "Oh, were your girls okay? I heard them crying, are they all right?" And you just feel like, yeah, that there's somebody else that feels you, understands you. No one was like, why were they so loud? What was going on? They weren't talking about that. They were just there in a
Yeah.
supportive way. And I think, again, it's really important that you have supportive people around you. And if you know that person is not supportive, then, for those few months, it's okay if you're not meeting them for that
Exactly.
part.
See, I believe, like, for example, around birth, many mothers are forced to maybe invite someone home, like we mentioned, mother-in-law or someone. It can be anyone who you're not comfortable with. Now, at that moment, they are probably when they're inviting them over, they are thinking, "Oh my God, if I don't, then the person will feel bad, and I don't know how to deal with that." But for a moment, just think that person's gonna feel bad, maybe for a day, or 2, 3 days, but that's it. You're gonna feel bad the 3 months that person's gonna stay with you, and it's gonna affect you, your baby's connection, your breastfeeding journey, your and your husband's relationship. It's gonna affect a lot of things. So kind of, having patience to tell the person no and dealing with that later. Just deal with your baby right now.
Absolutely. And again, that comes back down to empowering yourself, being informed.
Yeah.
And I think something that you did touch on, the postpartum doula. I would suggest that they read about the fourth trimester, because that again is something that I learned probably, I'd say, after the third child, not even the first two. And I remember thinking, oh my God, that makes so much sense, because just after you give birth, they love being held, being next to you, and I would be the slingy mama, with the sling, with the carrier,
Yeah,
with, I think I had like three or four different ones.
yeah,
um,
exactly.
because that's how I preferred to hold them on, and I knew that I couldn't just carry them all day long. Um,
Yeah,
you know, so definitely I think like having the carriers with them. Um, Sister Lutfa saying that the fourth trimester is one of the best books. I didn't know there was a whole book about it. That's amazing, mashallah. I used to
oh,
just Google
Lutfa.
fourth trimester. Have you
Oh,
heard of that book, Dr.
Lutfa is
Miriam?
a friend of mine, actually. Lutfa is a friend of mine. She's a midwife student right now. She's one of the doulas in Riyadh, one of the famous top ones,
Oh,
quite ahead of
mashallah. We're very glad to have you here then, Sister
yeah.
Lutfa. Thank you so much for joining us. So thank you for so much again, Dr. Miriam. It's been such a
You're welcome.
fantastic conversation. I was a little bit worried. I was like, I've had my kids now. What am I going to learn from this today? But subhanAllah.
Well, there's a
I,
lot more I would have said, but there's not enough time. Maybe next time, inshallah.
Definitely, inshallah. I think what we all have to realize is that everything is continually evolving and we're learning more as time goes on. And with No One Taught Me This, that's what we're trying to do, is share what little knowledge we do have to make your lives a lot easier, sisters, inshallah. So if you have any
Yeah,
questions, if you have any comments, please do connect with Dr. Miriam on her Instagram. And I think you said in your bio you've got the form where they can fill it in and get in
yeah,
touch with you, inshallah. And even
inshallah.
just looking at your Instagram, there's so much information there that will really help a lot of our mums out there, inshallah.
Hopefully,
And
inshallah.
Jazakallah khair,
Do we have
sisters who
two
joined.
minutes? Do we have 2 minutes, Sarah?
Yeah, just one second. So Jazakallah khair, Adila and Nutfa, for joining us. I'm sorry, Facebook user, your name hasn't popped up, but if you just send me a quick message, I'll say your name as well. Go ahead, Sister Miriam.
No, do we have 2 more minutes? I would just like to, finish it off with the birth of Isa alayhi salam, Maryam alayhi
Okay.
salam and Isa alayhi salam. If we have 2 minutes, I can just go through that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, mainly, I love to tell this because we as Muslims, like our crux should be this. I always go back to the ayah. There are only like mainly two or three ayahs about the birth of Isa alayhi salam. And as Muslims, we know that anything mentioned in the Quran has to be important. And there's a whole process of birth, like kind of mentioned in the Quran, if you see. And I just have the ayah in front of me. I'll just read the translation of it. The ayah goes, so she conceived him and withdrew with him to a remote place. Then the pains of labor drove her to the trunk of a palm tree. She cried, I wish I had died before this, and this was a thing long forgotten. So a voice reassured her from below, do not grieve. Your Lord has provided a stream at your feet. And shake the trunk of this palm tree towards you. It will drop fresh, ripe dates upon you. So eat and drink, and you put your heart at ease. This that much is the translation of which I would love to go through. Like I like to just break this down, and if you see how Maryam alayhi salam, the first thing she was asked was to go to a remote place. So like we mentioned already, she went like away from people. She was on her own. That's the first thing. Then when the pain started, she went to a palm tree and she cried that I wish I had died. And she was Maryam alayhi salam, who was like one of the most pious women's of Jannah. And she cried, I wish I had died before this. This means that birth is hard. It's not like an easy thing. Whatever course, whatever class, whatever you do, it's a hardship, and that the reward is great. And she cried and she said, I think I wish I was forgotten. The next thing that she did was pull on a palm tree. If you imagine pulling on a palm tree, I'm sure you're not lying down on your back. You're either on your knee or on your standing up, whatever position you're in. You're pulling on a palm tree. So that's another thing that you can take from the ayah that she was not on her back. And the voice called out and reassured her. She had someone reassuring her. She had a good support system. Do not grieve. Your Lord has provided you. And that reminded her that there is Allah who is providing for you. So do not grieve. And there's a stream at your feet. Shake the palm tree, have the dates, and drink water. So those are like the simple points that the reassuring voice told her. And subhanAllah, like we have this whole birth picture described in Quran, and I love to tell this to people because it's easy, it's simple, and people can do it, inshallah.
Yeah, mashallah. And I think even in some of the birthing rooms, they've got the ropes, haven't they, that you can hold on to. And they've got the squatting
Yeah,
school stools or the birthing stools,
yeah,
which are in that position if you were holding on and kind of
yeah,
squatting. And subhanAllah,
exactly. You
it
can
is
sit on the
it's
ball also, birthing ball.
like now the scientific knowledge, the evidence is there that that is a good position to give birth in because
Yeah.
you're letting gravity help and do the work. And going back to that scary lithotomy position, it just
Oh, there
sounds
was
so.
another story, but I think there's no time. I would love to tell the story of this
Would love to have you back
another
on,
time.
inshallah. So
Inshallah.
definitely let's get together with that with maybe with Sister Lutfa as well, or any
Yeah,
other
sure,
birth
sure.
coaches. Like everyone's welcome.
Inshallah.
And I think this is a really important part because like giving birth is obviously the beginning of our journey. Well, I guess getting
Yeah,
pregnant is the beginning, but like the actual, obviously once you've given birth, then you really truly feel like you know
yeah.
you're a mother now.
SubhanAllah.
And alhamdulillah, and I think Sister Lutfa's added a few more books in there. So Breastfeeding and the Fourth Trimester by Lucy Weber, and the Fourth Trimester is by Kimberly
Yeah,
and John. Jazakallah khair, sisters. So these are amazing books to read, and I'm so glad that you recommended them because, like I said, when I discovered the Fourth Trimester, there's also a essay. I forgot what it's called now. The For some reason, I think the yellow something essay. I need to link it in the Facebook group, inshallah. But again,
yeah.
it was basically talking about the rawness of birth afterwards, and that
Mm,
feeling that like I just said to you, like I wanted to be alone because I wanted to be free to breastfeed or look after my baby how I wanted to look after the baby, and it's
yeah,
difficult when you've got well-meaning relatives. I'm not saying that they're doing it on purpose. They're not. They want to help you. They want to share with you, oh, this worked for me and that worked for me. But at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't work for their child, and sorry, your child, and that's okay. But what happens is they're like, well, it worked for me. They get annoyed at you, and you're like, I
yeah,
get it worked for you, but it's not working for me right now. Let me do it my way. So I
yeah,
absolutely agree with you that we have to be empowered. We have to feel courageous and give ourselves compassion for this difficult job. That starts with birth. The job starts with that side of it, and subhanallah continues. If you ask my parents, they still treat us as children, and I even
yeah,
remember my granddad treating my dad as a child, even though my dad was a granddad by that time, mashallah. So it's that thing about parents, right? We're always there, inshallah. May Allah keep
yeah.
everyone blessed and happy and
I mean,
healthy. I mean,
I mean,
and
yeah.
make the births easy, inshallah, and
I
reward
mean,
order without measure, because that is a reward, right? It's hard.
yeah.
It's not easy. And I think again, maybe another time we can talk more about how to get the dads, empower the dads a little bit more. Because again, I
Yeah.
see that time and time again. My husband's always, and I even share with my husband, I was having a difficult day. I think Maria must have been maximum 6 or 7 days old then. And the midwife had come to visit. And she'd said to me, she looks a little bit jaundiced. You need to start feeding her. And so my sisters were there in the room with me in my bedroom with the baby. And she said to them, when the baby falls asleep, you help mummy, wake her up, bring her to the window, take her clothes off, wake her up so that she feeds again. And my sisters were teenagers, right? Like they were like 18, 19, I think, like, right? And my husband and my brother and his brother were in the other room playing PlayStation. And you know, I remember that, and he's like, "I wasn't playing PlayStation." I was like, "Yes, you were." And I remember trying to feed her, and I didn't realize that I was trying to feed her for like almost 3 hours. I was exhausted, but my sisters only
Oh,
had it in their heads that they've got to keep on waking the baby up to feed. That because that's what the health visitor said. So they didn't have
yeah.
any clue what to do. I didn't have any clue what to do. And I just remember like going, I am so tired. And I picked up the baby and I put her in her dad's lap and I said, "You deal with it. I can't deal with this anymore." And I remember him coming back into the room with the baby going, "What do you want me to do?" So, yeah, mashallah, you know, like young parents, obviously, I think it's really important that we get that help and that education. And mashallah, the support is out there. We just need to start looking for it a little bit. So, again, sorry,
Inshallah, yeah.
Jazakallah khair again. Really appreciate you coming in, Coach Miriam. I really appreciate all
My
of our
pleasure for having me.
viewers. No, you're very welcome, and you're welcome to come again, inshallah. Yeah, and Adila
Sure,
says
sure.
it's a new experience every time. I so agree with you. Yeah, it's been wonderful. I don't really want to go, but obviously time is up now. So
Yeah,
inshallah, we'll
same here.
definitely
Yeah. Jazakallah
do.
khair again, once again.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you again. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Wa alaikum
barakatuh.
salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.